Continuamos con más información aquí en Noticias Caracol en Vivo. Teresita, buenos días, nuestra analista internacional.
Juan Camilo, muy buenos días.
Teresita, una noticia en las últimas semanas que ha sacudido el mercado petrolero en el mundo, la salida de Emiratos Árabes Unidos de la OPEP. Se da por distintas razones. La OPEP establece unos límites de producción de petróleo, por ejemplo, de barriles de petróleo, pero también hay inclusive tensiones políticas en las regionales allí en Oriente Medio, pues que pueden explicar un poco esta salida, y les vamos también a contar el por qué es tan importante esta noticia para el mercado energético en el mundo. Nos acompaña muy amablemente Robin Mills, es director ejecutivo de Camar Energy. Él fundó esta empresa en 2015 para el conocimiento regional y la ejecución de proyectos en Oriente Medio en los sectores de petróleo y gas. También hace parte, es investigador asociado no residente en el Centro de Política Energética Global. Teresita, salude al señor Mills, que nos acompaña muy amablemente.
Dr. Mills, thank you so much for being with Caracol Noticias and accepting our invitation today.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Arranquemos preguntándole, Teresita, ¿qué implica la salida de Emiratos Árabes Unidos de la OPEP? ¿Esto qué va a implicar para el mercado del petróleo en el mundo?
The first question is a basic one, and it has to do with the Emirates retiring from the OPEP community. What does this mean for the OPEP community, for the Gulf, for the Emirates?
So, the immediate impact on the Emirates. So the Emirates has increased its oil production capacity a lot over the past few years. The capacity has reached almost 5 million barrels per day, but the OPEC quota out of that is only 3.2 million. So the UAE wants to increase production, but has been constrained by OPEC. So when the UAE leaves OPEC, it will have the ability to increase production significantly. And that helps its economic diversification goals. It wants to produce more oil, also more gas. It wants to make full use of its oil and gas resources. Now, obviously, because of the war in the Gulf and the blockade of the Gulf, it can't actually increase production right now. But the intention is that it can do so when the war ends and when normal shipping through the Gulf resumes.
Okay. Dice que es muy importante para los Emiratos. Los Emiratos tienen la capacidad, Juan Camilo, de producir 5 millones de barriles al día, pero las cuotas que impone la OPEC es de 2.3 millones, es decir, menos de la mitad de la producción que tienen los Emiratos hoy. Ellos necesitan producir más, recibir más ingresos para no solo diversificar, porque los ingresos para la diversificación vienen de hoy, de los ingresos del petróleo, y están esperando entonces, uno, el retiro de la OPEP, y dos, que se abra el famoso estrecho de Hormuz, porque en este momento de todas maneras no podrían sacar por la guerra todos estos recursos.
¿Qué tanto para el señor Mills las tensiones allí en Oriente Medio aceleraron la decisión?
You talked about the war. Was it, did the war accelerate this decision on the part of the Emirates? Or are there other regional geopolitical plays that come into play, let's say? It's rivalry. Some say there's a rivalry with Saudi Arabia. What's going on geopolitically that might have pushed the Emirates to this decision?
Well, the UAE has been thinking about leaving, or has been unhappy with the direction of OPEC policy for several years. UAE officials have suggested that they might leave since 2020. The timing, yes, absolutely, is linked to the war. Basically, because the UAE can't export freely right now, neither can Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or other OPEC members in the Gulf. So leaving now doesn't have any immediate impact on the market. So it gives time for the market to digest this departure. So that's the reason for the why now. You know, why not 6 months ago or 6 months later? But yes, I think the pressure for this decision has been building up for a while. And as you say, there is comment on the regional political issues. differences of opinion, maybe political disputes between some Gulf countries. But I think there are strong market reasons and economic reasons for this decision to leave OPEC. I wouldn't tie that directly to the regional politics.
Thank you. Dice que sí, que la guerra en el fondo los llevó a tomar esa decisión, pero no por las razones que uno podría pensar, sino porque es el mejor momento, no hay exportación de petróleo en este momento, entonces retirarse de la OPEP no tiene un impacto inmediato, porque como no pueden exportar, no hay un impacto que se sienta de todas maneras en este momento. Eso le da tiempo a la organización y a la región y al mundo, a los precios globales del petróleo, de, palabras de él, digerir la situación, acostumbrarse y prepararse para lo que pueda venir, porque en este momento retirarse o no hace diferencia con el estrecho cerrado. Entonces el retiro anunciado les da tiempo de digerir todo esto. Le aproveché y le pregunté que si esto, además de la guerra, tenía que ver con una situación geopolítica de competencia, por ejemplo, con otros países como Arabia Saudita, y dice que no, que siempre ha habido competencia, digamos, pero que los Emiratos desde el 2020 habían tomado la decisión de retirarse, la anunciaron ahora, y que la alianza de todas maneras sigue siendo una alianza muy fuerte.
¿Qué tanto afecta para la OPEP la salida de Emiratos?
Is there well, you said because of the war there's no exports right now, no large exports, but this will impact the OPEP. How will it impact the organization? People are saying that it becomes weaker because of this decision. At times where it already has other countries that produce oil and are not members of the OPEP. What is the future of the organization?
Well, that's correct. Yes, it does weaken the organization. The market share of OPEC goes down. The UAE was the third biggest producer in OPEC after Saudi Arabia and Iraq. And it was the one that had the biggest plans for production growth. So yes, it does weaken the organization. Now, obviously, there's a question, will other countries leave OPEC? And the one that everybody points to is Venezuela. After the political change there, of course, earlier this year, there is speculation Venezuela might also leave. Venezuela wants to increase its production, recover from years of when its oil industry was in very bad condition. So, and if Venezuela leaves too, obviously that weakens OPEC further. So yes, that's indeed where thoughts are going. What are the next steps for OPEC? OPEC, of course, is part of a wider alliance, the so-called OPEC Plus, which includes Russia and some other countries, and it entered that alliance to try to protect itself because on its own, its share of the market was not big enough to really have the control that it wanted. So that alliance still goes on, but certainly losing the UAE does weaken it and limits Saudi Arabia's ability to have a strong influence on the market.
I have a question for you. I'll translate in a second. That has to do with this, and it has to do with international cooperation. It seems we're living in an era where international cooperation is weakening, is disappearing, some would say. Multilateral organizations or cartels like OPEP are being weakened day by day. Do you believe that's going to affect the energy world in the near future, the energy resources in general?
Well, I think on the small scale, no. And I think, look, the UAE has said, look, we're still going to be responsible in the market. We still might cooperate with OPEC. Even though we've left, it doesn't mean we can't talk and we can't align policies and so on. But I do think in a big picture, yes, indeed, the weakness of international organizations, I don't mean particularly OPEC here, but obviously organizations like the WTO, like the UN, other big international organizations, that is a big problem for security, and that affects the energy industry, absolutely, as we see in the current war in the Gulf, which has had a huge impact on the global energy market, on the global oil and gas market. Conflicts like this are a big problem for the energy industry, yes. And that does partly reflect the breakdown of some important international institutions.
Dice que sí, que la salida en parte debilita a la OPEP y se ha hablado mucho de eso en todos los análisis que han salido en los últimos días. Se ha hablado también de salidas de países como Venezuela, que también fue uno de los fundadores de la OPEP, y todo esto debilita la organización cada vez más. A los Emiratos parte de lo que les molestaba es que no producían lo suficiente, a pesar de ser el tercer productor de la organización, para poder controlar las decisiones. Entonces, que prefieren estar por fuera para controlar sus propias decisiones y su propia economía. A lo cual le pregunté a Juan Camilo si en estos momentos en que la cooperación internacional la vemos en crisis en el mundo, en muchos temas, lo que está pasando en diferentes organizaciones puede el día de mañana reflejarse en general en el mercado energético a 2, 3 años vista. Y me dice que efectivamente la debilidad de organizaciones como Naciones Unidas, la Organización Mundial del Comercio, son temas que afectan e impactan la industria energética a nivel global. Guerras como la que estamos viendo, todo eso impacta la debilidad de la OPEP, a pesar de ser una OPEP más hoy en día, por ejemplo, que incluye Rusia, sí debilita los lazos de cooperación, y cuando estos se debilitan hay problemas de seguridad como los que estamos viendo en la región.
¿Puede traer la salida de Emiratos un efecto dominó en los países que pertenecen a la OPEP, de una desbandada salir, o podemos ver este caso en más países? Teresita.
Are we talking, or is there the possibility of a domino effect with the Emirates retiring from the OPEP? Other countries that would want to leave the organization?
Yeah, I think the other country that everybody looks at, as I said, is Venezuela. Venezuela, of course, wants to increase production a lot, wants its oil industry to recover. OPEC constraints could affect that. So yes, and the change in Venezuelan politics as well. So Venezuela is the one that everybody looks at that might leave next. In the bigger alliance, you have Kazakhstan, which is not part of OPEC, but is part of the OPEC Plus alliance. Kazakhstan has also increased production a lot. I think that's another one you could see leaving. But beyond that, I think the other members have good reasons to stay. They prefer oil prices to be higher. Maybe some of them can't really increase production anymore, so it doesn't help them to leave. So I think beyond the two that I mentioned, probably the rest of the members are ready to stay and still think it's useful to them to be in OPEC.
You consult in different energy topics. We're talking about oil here mainly. OPEP is designed, it was created for the countries that produce oil. That's what it means. You mentioned that the Emirates wanted to invest money in diversity, in diversifying their economy. Will OPEP countries look at having a joint alternative energies session, or looking at other energies jointly, or developing other energies jointly in the near future?
Well, several of the OPEC members are trying to diversify their economies and diversify their energy systems, including Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has very large projects in solar power, wind power, batteries. So yes, it's also moving on from oil. Oil remains a big part of the economy, but it wants to use other energy forms as well, both in the domestic economy and in international investments. The UAE has done a lot of that. Some of the other members are really sticking to oil and not really moving beyond it. But I think that is one of the weaknesses of OPEC. Yes, that it's always been very focused on oil, of course, and in recent years it hasn't really changed its mission to try to help its members adapt to a new energy world, where indeed that they have to think more about renewable energy, nuclear power, other forms of energy as well beyond oil.
Dice que sí, que más allá de los Emiratos y el tema de Venezuela, que está en la mira de todos dentro de la OPEP, el retiro podría darse en países como Kazajstán, porque son países que están aumentando su producción y les interesa vender por encima de las cuotas que propone esta organización. Es decir, los países que se retirarían son aquellos que no están de acuerdo con las cuotas impuestas y que no tienen el control por su producción para cambiar esas cuotas. Le pregunté, es un consultor importante en temas energéticos en el Medio Oriente, no solo petróleo, que cuál puede ser el futuro de la OPEP si estamos hablando de países que dependen 100% del petróleo. pero él mismo nos dijo que Emiratos en un momento dado necesita esa plata para empezar a diversificar su economía, que si otros países han pensado en eso y esto puede ser algo que pueda llevar el día de mañana a una OPEP distinta. Y me dice que efectivamente la debilidad que tiene la OPEP es que los países no piensan en que esto se puede acabar y en que tienen que adaptarse, la palabra que usó, a nuevas tecnologías y nuevas energías para el día de mañana, con excepción de Arabia Saudita, que ya está invirtiendo unos recursos importantes en energía solar y energía eólica, es decir, el viento, para diversificar un poco también en lo que invierte sus ingresos.
Teresita, quiero ir finalizando. No puedo desaprovechar a un experto como Robin Mills para pues llevarlo a lo local. El presidente de nuestro país tiene una gran premisa con el petróleo, y es que el petróleo está muy cerca de su fin, de acabarse. ¿Qué tan cierto es esto? ¿Es cierto que el mercado petrolero está llegando a su fin o está muy cerca de acabarse y hay que acudir a otro tipo de energías?
To continue with our last question, our president in Colombia has said that oil, he doesn't really like oil, has said that oil is on the verge of extinguishing itself. There's been no more oil in the world in a few years, and that the country has to look at other sources of energy. How true is it that oil is disappearing at a very, very fast pace, and what should other countries do?
Well, we're still at an all-time high of oil production and oil demand globally, or we were until the war 2 months ago. So, and oil demand is still growing. Oil demand this year, before the war, was forecast to have quite strong growth into next year too. So we're not at the peak of oil demand yet. Of course, non-oil technologies are growing and becoming more successful. We talked about renewable energy, and we can talk about electric vehicles. More than half of cars sold in China now are electric. Electric vehicles are growing in Europe. They're growing in many other countries. So yes, we can see in a few years that the global oil demand probably will start declining. But still, oil will be a very important energy source for decades to come. There is still a need for more oil production around the world. But obviously that has to be balanced against climate, against carbon emissions. And ultimately, yes, we do need to use less oil, less gas, less coal, and more of the other energy sources.
Dice que mientras haya demanda, es un tema muy económico la respuesta, mientras haya demanda, la producción va a seguir subiendo y estamos en un pico fuerte de demanda de petróleo en el mundo. Por lo tanto, las tecnologías para nuevas producciones, nuevas maneras de buscar el petróleo, están creciendo y si hay demanda, la producción de petróleo va a seguir creciendo, por lo menos por unas cuantas décadas más. Ahora, eso no quiere decir que no haya inversiones en energías alternativas, como en Europa y otros países donde los carros eléctricos están aumentando, pero la demanda por el momento va más rápido de lo que va el desarrollo de esas nuevas tecnologías, que lo importante en este momento es empezar a pensar cómo se va a equilibrar lo que es las emisiones de carbono de los países y de la gente, el clima y el petróleo y la energía.
Teresita, agradezcale al señor Mills, muy amable. Gracias de verdad por estos minutos.
Mills, thank you so much for being with Caracol Noticias, and I guess a good night to you.
Thank you too.